Guys, does Unity actually have a chance at surviving? This is a cow's opinion. Catchphrase! Still ain't got one. But this is the little channel that could just talk about games, everything you love, playing, let's playing, preview videos, analysis, and having fun on a low budget channel because, yeah, you know, stuff's expensive. Have you seen inflation, guys? Woof. Guys, I wanted to come back today. Chris Scullion here at Video Games Chronicle, one of our favorite guys to look over, posted this recently today that Unity has canceled the controversial runtime fee. Controversial. You gotta enunciate. And it is instead going to charge more for Pro and Enterprise. So, going back to previous videos, Unity had decided that they were going to put this runtime fee into existence. What did it basically do? Let's find out if I remember. Now, this was actually one of the first things we did, I think, on A Cow's Opinion. It was about a year ago. And was supposed to start January 1st, was going to have Unity charging you a royalty fee based on the number of times the game was installed with a Unity engine. Now, if that makes sense to you, why people were upset, it's pretty obvious. They had admitted that if I install a game on one computer, and then I reinstall it on like my laptop so I can play it on the go, the fee is charged to the developer twice because it's not based on sales, it's based on how many times that software is installed. So if I buy and it's not even a laptop computer thing, if I decide I want to upgrade my tower and buy a new computer, Unity is going to charge the developer if I reinstall that game on my new tower. They're going to charge them a fee. And there are plenty of times when people are like, hey, you know, there's a lot of, say, like free-to-play games or games that are heavily dependent on microtransactions. And we saw people do the math. Like, literally these games, especially in the first few months before they've got whales or people who are paying for everybody else to play for free, it's like it will bankrupt us in the first week. We cannot do that. And Unity did not care. But later that same month, because screw that I know I made videos and I got some decent traction and conversations out of it, but a lot of people, this was universally reviled amongst developers, publishers, gamers. I mean, people like Microsoft and Sony were looking at Unity and laughing like, hey, you are not, because they even said like, well, maybe your publishers can be charged for it too and help offset that. And Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo are like, screw you, we're not paying for your stupidity. But later that month, they walked back its plans and saying it's only going to apply to users of Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise subscription services, and that it would not apply to existing games. But again, the audience of developers and publishers and gamers were not happy. And you saw a lot of people saying, look, it says that as of this date, any games made with this engine are going to build this. It sucks, but we can't use Unity anymore. We're not going to. But today, in a new statement, Unity President and CEO Matt Bromberg has announced that the fee is completely gone. Let us see what he says. After deep consultation with our community, customers, and partners, we've made the decision to cancel the runtime fee for our games customers effective immediately. Translation, we effed up on a money grab because our lawyers and executives who run this company and don't understand games thought, dude, let's just take all the monies, without understanding how much it killed our brand. Non-gaming industry customers are not impacted by this modification. Over the last 20 years, we've partnered with brilliant designers and developers, artists and engineers, publishers and platforms to build a world where great games could be built by anyone for anyone. We called it democratizing game development, and it remains our core mission today. However, we can't pursue that mission in conflict with our customers. At its heart, it must be a partnership built on trust. They have very low trust right now. They've got a lot of brand awareness they need to build back up. I've been able to connect with many of you over the last 3 months. I've heard time and time again that you want a strong Unity and understand that price increases are a necessary part of what enables us to invest in moving gaming forward. But those increases needn't come in a novel and controversial new form. We want to deliver value at a fair price in the right way so that you will continue to feel comfortable building your business over the long term with Unity as your partner. Remember, Unity has, well, we'll get to it in a second. And we're confident that if we're good partners and deliver great software and services, we've barely scratched the surface of what we can do together. So remember, Unity has different tiers. And if you're using a smaller tier and you only have X number of sales, Unity doesn't charge you for using their software. It's so that when you're independent, or they charge you very little. And then as you move up to like the big companies using Unity, they have more expensive tiers that you have to pay. It's so that when you're an independent dev or a small developer just starting, you'll get to love Unity. So, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with giving the little guys a break on price so they can play with competent tools and get to make great games too, and get noticed on Steam and social media and YouTube and Twitch and build their brands and their audiences. It's actually a good thing. Nobody was upset about that. It was this, we're going to just nickel and dime you to death. And if somebody decides to, literally somebody pointed out, what if somebody decides that they don't like your company and I erase and reinstall the game dozens of times to charge that fee dozens of times? Can you do that? And they're like, well, we don't think you can. It's like, what do you mean you don't think you? It doesn't. You can literally freaking. It's bad enough to get review bombed, but you want to be like charge fee bombed and go actually bankrupt? That's disgusting. So instead of this runtime fee that nobody wanted, Unity's going to go back to its seat-based subscription model with price increases. So Unity Personal will remain free, and its revenue and funding season actually goes up from 100 to 200K. So good on them for that. Pro subscriptions are going to rise 8% to $2,200 annually, and the Enterprise, the big daddy of them, is 25%. Now, 25% is a big price increase. 8% is not bad for Unity Pro, honestly. It sucks for the 25%, but mostly bigger developers are using that. I hope they can absorb that cost efficiently. And it's, it's a thing. So let's take a second. Let's look at Unity stock, because this is a more technical dollar thing that we're looking at. Let's see what the Unity stock has done. All right, guys, through the magic of editing, you didn't have to see me bring that up. So right around here, and it's really handy that this happened about a year ago because I can just hit 1 year. So at the very left side of our screen, we have literally last year, 9/12 of 23. Opened at $38 a share, closed at $36 a share, low of 35, and really good volume. As we can see over the past year, it went all the way down to here, to where people thought, well, it's got to be like, Unity's not going anywhere, they're going to fix this. And remember, like a month later, they backtracked on some of it, but not all of it. So it went all the way back. Actually went higher than it was by a couple of dollars. But then as they kept doubling down on those runtime fees and more developers were just saying, I'm not using Unity anymore, you can see it has been a nice overall slow decline over the past 9.5 months or so. Even getting as low as $15. I saw on Wall Street Bets, somebody was trying to, got a little southern there, saw on the Wall Street Bets that the money man was making the bets. No. It got all the way down to, I think its lowest is here, just under $14 a share. It closed today at $18.91. It went up another almost quarter to $19.15. After, all this came out, people are starting to absorb the information and everything. So, does this mean that there's a turnaround in Unity? Well, let's find out. If you talk to the smart people, the current price tag for Unity is under $20 a share. $19.79, and it closed at $19.50. So it's not what the analysts and what the people who think First Call expects negative earnings per share next quarter. It's not good. We can see that the revenue is way not. Well, that's the revenue analysis. Excuse me. That's not. There's no dividend. Earnings. That's what I want. Yeah, you can see negative earnings. A little bit of negative earnings while I believe they were investing in new technology and stuff. And then last year they came out with all this pricing stuff, and it's been, even though this arrow is green, that means that they lost less money than they have. So right now, Unity is not expected to make money through 2025. So it's not exactly a screaming buy. You're not going to see this on Jim Cramer anytime soon. Well, maybe you will if you don't like Cramer. I don't know. But here's the point, guys. Finally, Unity, I think, has started to listen. They've gotten rid of the runtime fees for everybody instead of part people. It's not going to apply to any games. So the big question now, we know that Unity is probably not going to make money for the next, it showed end of 2024, beginning of 2025. So for the next 15 months, Unity's not going to make money. It's going to lose money. It's expected to. It could surprise you, but it would be kind of difficult because of the trend. This is probably really good in what they need. I still think they need to make some changes at the top because the people who thought this was a good idea are still the people working there. And there's no guarantee that they won't do this. The worst thing about Unity isn't the money. It's the trust. The trust is gone. Developers are looking at other alternatives that we talked about last year. That first month that Unity tried to do all this, other small-time engines were being not only discovered, but they were making more money off of new people opening contracts with them than they'd ever dreamed of. And that's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with healthy competition. Now, Unity is still the big player. And I know that this is probably not the only step they're taking. This is probably just the first in a series of steps as they are trying hard to figure out how do we get trust back. That's the key thing. Unity needs to rebuild trust with developers and gamers because gamers are more connected than ever to their developers. We have our favorites. We have our franchises that we love. And if the people who sell and maintain their software are going to bankrupt our favorite companies, we don't like Unity. And if the developers think that there's a chance that if I do too well too fast, Unity fees would kill me before I could pay them, they don't like Unity. Unity has not united anybody. Not recently. Took them a year to finally get rid of the runtime fees and just increase the prices on their big corporate stuff that they probably should have done in the first place. Maybe they were just trying, I don't know why they did that. Maybe they were just trying to we don't want to charge EA or Ubisoft or anybody big, so let's find a way to get the medium and the smaller developers to help pay for things too. Or maybe it's just what I think it is, which is just we think there's a big pile of money that's just sitting there and we want it. But that money comes from somewhere. And it comes from the pockets of the developers. And they even thought about asking, well, maybe your publishers can be charged too. No, the publishers aren't paying for this stuff. And the developers shouldn't, and now they're not going to have to. So guys, let me know in the comments below. Do you trust Unity now? Or do you think maybe this is great, but I need to see more? I'm in the latter camp, but I think it's okay if you're in the first camp because they undid all the decisions. I don't want Unity to go bankrupt. There's a lot of really hard-working engineers and developers that work at Unity who were flawed and told them beforehand, don't do this. It looks like a greedy, stupid money grab. Because it's a greedy, stupid money grab. Let me know in the comments below. You know what else you can do? You know what else you can do? You can play more games. Games are awesome. Unity's not awesome yet, but at least it doesn't suck. And you deserve awesome. I'll see you next time. The irony that their name is Unity through all this, after all the divisive stuff, it's impressive.